This episode of GuildCast is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV.
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GuildCast, episode number 69 for May 1st, 2013. You're watching Gamebreaker. I'm Gary again, and coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss the Living Story Dungeon, custom arenas, and spectator mode, and ArenaNet to make a few mistakes on the banning front, all that and more. But first, of course, from massively.com, it's Elizabeth Claire. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Also from the Massively Stream team and Bog Author, the YouTube channel, Mr. Rich Procopio. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing great.
All right, we got lots to cover. We kind of didn't have a show last week, so lots of people realized that. And Liz, you're going to be out for a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
Let's get that right out of the way, just because the hate will be flying and slinging. And
I am on indefinite hiatus, and I'll miss you all.
yes, so.
Do I smell or something?
No.
Yeah, it's you. It's entirely you, Richie, actually.
So let's get into it. So the epic conclusion to the Flame and Frost Living Story has officially arrived. What's fill everybody in? What's going on in the story and the lore front, first of all? What do we know so far, Liz?
So kind of picking up, we are taking the fight to the Molten Alliance. Previously, we've been kind of just trying to defend our borders, and now we're like, no, we're sick of their crap. We're going to go in and we're going to take our survivor prisoner people back, and we're going to mess some faces up while we're at it. So we're going deep into the underground area of the Diesa Plateau and Wayfarer Foothills, and we are fighting a bunch of really fiery char and dredge.
Lots of fiery things.
Lots of fire.
Fiery tornadoes, fire, lots of fire.
Fire. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of it.
It's looking to be a great finale. I mean, like you said, it's all centered around a brand new dungeon. Were you guys expecting this at all? Were you expecting that? It's a pretty major addition to the finale, an entire dungeon dedicated for this.
Yeah, I don't know if I was expecting a dungeon. I thought maybe it would be more of an open world kind of thing, you know, maybe a new and improved way to do like the Karka invasion type thing. But yeah, a dungeon's really cool. I'm definitely glad they went that route and surprised me, and it's a whole lot of fun.
They specifically they called it a living story dungeon. What do you think that means in relation to the story, like an explorable mode? Are there difficulty settings and things like that?
So it's about halfway between story and explorable mode in terms of difficulty. So most pugs should find that they can beat it with relatively little difficulty, even though it is a fairly long dungeon. They've got some time gates in there, so it's going to take you at minimum 30 to 40 minutes. But most groups that are only moderately coordinated are going to find themselves at more of the hour-ish mark.
Yeah, probably about an hour. I ran it the other day. I think I ran it on Friday before it was released. So yeah, with the press people, yeah, it was like 6 hours. It was like 6 hours.
I was really impressed that my press team didn't wipe. We had, I think, one ArenaNet dev in there, and we never like completely embarrassed ourselves. So there's hope for the pugs.
Hope. Yeah, it seemed. I think about an hour is probably good to say, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, have you guys ran it like a gazillion times already? I only ran it the once.
If you define a gazillion by 2, then yes.
That's about a gazillion. It kind of fits into the same thing. So what do you think of it so far? How do you think? Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? I mean,
I enjoy like 90% of it. I think it's a really well put together dungeon. There's an encounter where the bad guy is like testing a whole bunch of environmental traps on you, and that is just hilarious. It's hilarious that just you have to jump over some things, you've got to dodge some tornadoes of fire, there's explosions everywhere, and all the while you're trying to get as much health down on this like mechanism, this core in the middle of the room, and that's super fun. The end boss is just insane. The only section I didn't really love is the running around trying to find the 10 slaves. Felt a little long, but overall, it's a great dungeon.
I agree with
great
that.
Dungeon.
Would you say? I mean,
Yes.
you guys, do you feel like it? Would you call it a full-on dungeon, or do you feel it falls more in line with like the Mad King event?
It's bigger than the Mad King event. Mad
Yeah,
King event was just like one encounter that was made longer by a bunch of trash. This felt like separate things that, I don't, it's not as long as some of the explorable mode paths, but thank God,
Yeah.
because some of those are just really long.
There is that. If it had been like a Raw Reborn, I would have had serious issues with the developers. So yeah, I think it counts as a legitimate dungeon in terms of like progression and difficulty and stuff, but it's definitely not explorable mode difficulty and not like oh gosh, we need to really coordinate on this endeavor, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, they want this to be fun, it seems like.
I want to mention something that I think is really good design. There's a part of it in the beginning where there's a drill that's just drilling a tunnel trying to get into the facility, right? And and you're following this drill, and all of these little side caverns open up, right? And there's trash in there. There's spiders and oozes and all kinds of environmental creatures and stuff that you're bothering their homes. You can kind of skip all of those and run past those little sides, but they have those mining nodes in them, that actually put out a new type of crafting material. And it's great because here's trash, which no one really loves to do, but it's kind of necessary for pacing. And you can totally skip it, but you feel incentivized to go into them because there's a reward. I really like that. I felt like... Go ahead.
Did all of your press buddies die from all the flying embers of rock coming off of the thing? Because everybody was just like running into it, and our guide from ArenaNet was like, "No, guys, like they hurt. Don't stand so close." Yes.
I didn't quite die, but I might have been one of the people who's like, "Is it really going to light me on fire?" Because I need to test that.
You had to test it for science.
Well,
for science.
Yes.
Really, because half the fires in the world won't hurt you if you run into them, and the other half will. So just I wanted empirical proof.
These hurt.
Yeah,
they hurt a little bit.
My warrior has like 4 condition removal. Everything I do is condition removal. So I light myself on fire and just remove it over and over again. Just because
sound like a guardian.
Which is like Honey Badger, just doesn't give a shit. Light myself on fire.
That's right.
Honey Badger. All right. Tell me a little bit about the loot. What do you guys think of the loot drops? Pretty standard. Nothing crazy. Kind of mediocre. A little lackluster.
Well, it is nice to see that you have the option of getting, or the chance of getting, the new stat combo armor from there. In general, I've never been like hugely impressed by the loot drops in Dungeons and Guild Wars 2, and this is kind of going with that. The kind of big draw that they're seeing as far as loot is concerned is those azurite crystals and orbs. So if you like that stat combo, or you like making money off of it, if it is a viable way to make money, then the loot is great. Otherwise, it's fairly standard fare.
Yeah, there's a rare chance on the boss chest at the end to get it's like a jetpack skin for your backpack, right? And that thing is awesome looking.
Yes.
Everybody loves backpack jets.
Who doesn't, really?
I know, really, seriously. No, this is a weird... so reading that through a blog post, and this was slightly surprising. I mean, the dungeon's going to go away on May 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty short amount of time. I mean, not even a full month, not even a half a month, really. I was a little bit surprised. I mean, you guys, it is part of the living story, right? So on one hand, you kind of be like, well, it's weird. It's like this give and take, right? Content being taken away is never really a good thing. I mean, do you guys think it should stick around a little bit longer? Are you going to miss it? Or are you kind of like the fact that you're just going to run it, do it, and it's going to go away?
I'm just kind of resigning myself that this is their strategy, right? This is how they're doing everything. Everything is limited time. Stuff on the gem store, holiday events, and the Karka invasion, and now this living story. This is how they get people to come back on a non-subscription game and actually play now, right? Otherwise, okay, they put out a new dungeon. I'll get to it when I'm done playing. Oh, Neverwinter, or BioShock Infinite, and this and that. You have all these other distractions. You'll get to it eventually, and you might never actually see it. But hey, this is out until May 12th. You got to go do it now. You want Super Adventure Box? Oh well, you missed the first wave of that. That was April. So this is their strategy. So I think we're going to see more and more of this, whether you kind of enjoy that or not. It also I also believe that they learned in the Karka event, right? They had that huge kind of open world event, and that was a one-time thing. this is kind of their evolution of that. It's not a one-time thing. You have a few weeks to see it, and it's in the form of an instance dungeon. But yeah, it's that same kind of feel that, you know, the people that were there playing get the achievements, get the new weapon skin gloves that they're offering for it, and different things like that. And you know what? That's something for you to show off to new players, and it kind of is your little badge that you went through it. So.
And I guess really, like, how much of a living story would it actually be if it just stayed around forever? Kind of really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
Static story.
Static.
I mean, people are already they're like, well, unless this changes the spawns of the Dredge and the Flame Legion in those maps, it's not really living or having an impact on the world, which is a fairly fair complaint, but I feel like having this time-limited content is a good halfway point as far as, like, being a legitimate, this is something that is time-limited and something that is evolving, without making some poor dev go in and rechange all the spawns every couple months.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, it is interesting to it kind of gives you a bit of maybe of an insight as to how quickly maybe they can actually put some of this together on the tech side, because if they're able to just kind of like put these together for these events and they're completely willing to spend the money to then just like throw them out, like, you know, not even a half a month later, it's like, it's kind of cool that they can actually do that, because a lot of other MMOs in the past have tried to do live content and that never really worked. But MMO companies are usually not, it's not very cost effective to like create content and then just like throw it out like, you know, a month later and just be okay with that.
More than even the dungeon itself, I'm really impressed at the graphics that went into it. Like, they've really created some really interesting looking bosses and effects. And so the fact that that's apparently only going to come out for these 12 days is almost impressive. Like, that they would be able to spend those resources and be like, yeah, it's a 12-day thing. We think it's worth it.
I want to give a nod to the sound design, too. The sound effects on some of those traps and stuff are just, like, they're amazing.
So good.
I pumped up my volume really loud last night while I was running it, and I was blown away by the, you know, the bass and the shaking of my internal organs as I got, you know, pummeled by the things that come from the ceiling and, you know, big pancakes.
What do you think about, like, we talked about a lot of the boss mechanics in the past and how they were lacking and how they were going to be working on that stuff. I mean, how did you feel, especially about those two end bosses, especially that kind of trade off, and then they you kill the one boss and then he kind of takes some of the powers over from the other boss and incorporates them into his moves? I mean, what did you think? Are you really feeling like there's a really good progression there where they're kind of dialing these things in and making them much more interesting than they were in the past?
It's definitely better, much better than it was. This boss fight's a lot of fun to do. It does not give you that sense, like coming from a World of Warcraft raiding background, it never gives you that sense of, okay, we're going to have to wipe on this 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, tweak our strategy, learn the fight, and then we'll be able to beat it, or needing to, you know, research a little bit beforehand. And I'm not saying that that's needed for the game, but it doesn't give you that sort of sense. We're not, you know, you can still one-shot these bosses even with not knowing what to do. However, that said, it's a lot more dynamic. It's a lot more fun. It does, you know, you do have to move around. You do have to dodge. You know, you just can't stand there and, you know, whack number 1 on your keyboard and expect to win. And I like how killing them in a different order unlocks. It's a whole different fight, right? When one of those bosses goes down, the other one gets like supercharged in different abilities, and the fight is completely different if you do it in a different order. So I like that a lot too. So it's come a long way, but you know, not going to cause you to go cry to your mommy. That's for sure.
It is one of the more interesting boss fights in the game, and I feel like it does a better job of sustaining interest, whereas you've got some bosses who have interesting mechanics, but as you know, Scott famously pointed out several times, they're only interesting for the first little bit of the fight, and they just have way too much health. And while I'm still like morally against bosses who regen health at the last second, I feel like this one was better paced as far as sustaining interest over the fight, because there is enough gradual change that their health pool doesn't seem just way too large.
There is a story heavy like content like wrap up epilogue you know, coming after the dungeon goes away. But now that you guys have seen it, I mean, what do you think? You've seen most of, you know, pretty much most of the living story, besides, you know, what's coming after it goes away. You've seen what the living story has to offer. How would you guys rate it on a scale? I don't know, like a scale of 1 to 10. Liz, what would you think?
I'd put it at maybe an 8. I think they can do a lot more with it, but I really think it's serving a good purpose of keeping interesting content coming in every couple of weeks so that people who are playing all the time have something every now and then to just kind of break up their normal rotation of like, oh, Thursday night is World versus World night, Friday night is Dungeons. Now you're like, oh, well, maybe I want to do this instead. So I think it's doing its job, and I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Richie, what would you go for?
think I'd give it a 6. I love the dungeon. This is the best part about it for sure. And I like the concept, right? And I like introducing, Brahmin rocks and having some new NPCs with some new models and that kind of thing. But it took, we've talked about this before. It took way too long. It was like a slow burn, and not enough changed week to week to really hold my interest. A lot of the little things that they added, especially like in January and February, felt a little grindy, and they were just to get it like an achievement point or something, and you had to do, kind of repetitive tasks over and over again to get very little reward out of it. And so I'm hoping that this is just laying the groundwork, right? They needed to kind of figure out how they can do this, get the technology in place to do this, get the teams together to do this.
See how players react
see how players react, and now maybe be able to do the next arc of the living story and kind of, bring things out quicker at a faster pace. So I think most of it's a pacing issue for me.
I gotta think. I mean, I'm not gonna. Everybody in agreement that ArenaNet should definitely keep up with the living story concept going forward.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely looking good.
And that seems to really be the thing they're running with. So more power to them.
All right, let's talk about some guild missions. Liz, it looks like there's some guild missions designed specifically for you. You literally get to turn in a Quaggin.
Yeah, and you get to run around with a bunch of other Quaggins, and it's really exciting.
So give me some details on this. Have you got to try this? Have you done it?
I haven't tried it yet. I don't know if I want to do it with my guild first. First time's very important. So I don't know. But I'm almost too excited to start it. Like,
I don't want to ruin it.
I'm gonna turn into a Quaggin, and I'm just gonna sit there and be like, "This is the best moment of my life."
Can I just stay like this forever? Thank you, ArenaNet. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
That's
we'll
hilarious.
actually have to check back in on this at a later date, but it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I got good news for WVW fans, as well as you got some Guild Siege missions. I don't know how I feel about this yet. Back banners, which I'm not convinced this is good news. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay.
Let me ask, when everybody heard back banners for WVWs, did everybody just assume tabards, cloaks, something like that? Is that what you guys were?
I was kind of imagining 40K universe type, like poles that stick up way above your head and have the banner kind of like above your shoulders.
Like a standard bearer.
Yeah,
okay,
and I was
this is kind
close
of
to right.
Close, so you were close to right. I don't know. I'm not so sure about this. They're definitely not tabards.
They're guild dorsal fins.
They're definitely back
like
banners.
Spine implants.
So,
it is very literal. Like I was like, yes, that is a banner for your back.
Yeah,
good
golf
job.
clap for ArenaNet on the naming convention. Definitely good name, because it's definitely a back banner.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. Why am I looking at something that looks laughably bad? It looks bad. It's bad. This is the first thing I think I feel like I've seen in Guild Wars 2 that I'm just like, that's pretty bad.
I want to see squires putting that on their knights, right? There's like, the battle's over. Can you get this thing off of me? I can't.
Staple it into their spine.
It's like this.
I mean,
I can't get this off me.
I don't know. Can we just not get cloaks? Can we not just get tabards, cloaks? Is that not okay? Is that not good enough? Do we need something that we can see like sort of static from a profile view or something? Is there a real need for that? I don't know. These just look kind of ridiculous to me. Like, why would you ever wear that? It's a stick with like what looks to be a piece of fabric that is very stiff.
Yeah, if a guild is heavy into World versus World and they want to show off their emblem and stuff like that, and they get everybody to purchase those, then I don't know, maybe it would look cool as a big team coming at you, but yeah, I'm not going to wear that single-handedly running around.
I'm waiting for them to grow on me. I'm not an instant fan, but I guess it. They do look kind of organic. I don't think they look awful. I don't think they look even necessarily bad. They're not what I would have envisioned for the implementation there. I really wish that they would go for like capes for every race that can handle capes, and for like the char have some sort of front tabard thing. Like
that seems like the obvious choice, right? So I'm trying to figure out, like, after I saw them, like, what would be the reason for this? Like, why wouldn't they've just gone for like some sort of cape tabard-esque thing that like we're just kind of used to? They would have looked good. They would have looked cool. Like, I don't know. This is just so this is odd to me. It looks very odd. And even if you don't hate it, Even you, Liz, you're on the fence. You're just like, I'm waiting for it to grow on.
I don't
You're
hate
just
it
like,
either.
you're like, I don't want it. You don't hate it? I kind of hate it. I gotta say, I kind of hate it.
Well, we know where you stand. I don't hate it, but I'm like Liz. I would never get that. I would never buy that.
I might at some point. It needs to grow on me, and it hasn't done that yet. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of them around to be like well and truly jealous.
Would you just be happier though with cloaks? Like, why not just cloaks?
I think the char tail is. I don't think we'll ever see cloaks because of the char tail.
They can't just give him a split cloak or I don't know, whatever.
Give him a V-neck. Give him a t-shirt. Give him a nice V-neck t-shirt, just like this, and just I don't know.
Don't say that because they did hoodies and like the shirt. They're gonna do V-neck.
I know.
The town clothes.
I don't know. This is the first piece of artwork that I'm just like, really reading it, really. Okay, all right. I don't know. Maybe I got to see him in action and actually like running around. Maybe it'll be cooler. But right now, I don't know. You kind of look like.
I just want to be able to get a herald that runs around carrying a banner for me. That's the item I want.
That would be cool. That would be cool if you had. Yeah, that would be absolutely cool. This just makes you look like a hobo. This is like your hobo sack. You just got off the train. Maybe you got your like can of beans in the back of there. It's a little sacky. And there's your guild emblem. It does. All right, swiftly moving on. I'm moving on. Getting off of this subject because nobody's with me. It looks like shit. Final big addition to the patch is the beta version of the custom arenas and the spectator mode, which I believe all of us got to check out.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I did as well. Richie?
I didn't get the custom arena. No.
Okay. Let's talk about it first. First being what they exactly are. Most people probably know what they are, but so there's custom arenas. They're in beta. Basically, it's the static maps that are, you're used to for, PvP, structured PvP. You make the Gamebreaker arena. You get controls over all of the specs for it. So how big the teams are, what maps are in rotation, what order they're in rotation. You can password protect it. Basically like having kind of like your own server. Plus it includes spectator mode, which I have to say looks really good. Like they did a really good job. It's really smooth. I sat and spectated stuff. Yeah, I spectated stuff for a long time, like just watching, switching cameras. There's a bunch of static cameras in certain strategic locations that you can use. Then you can click on users and do like a follow cam. You can bring up the builds that the characters have done really easily, as well as like, the scoreboard and things like that. So a lot of pretty good tools, really good first start, especially for what shoutcasters kind of need to do this kind of stuff. The UI is now... all of that stuff looks really good. I have to say, where I'm confused with this is I had to ask the question. Where I'm really, really confused is I don't know. They're going to charge for this. This is making a custom arena is part of the gem store that you're going to have to buy like an item to start it. And then you're going to have to upkeep it with tokens like every day, a token a day, basically to keep this thing alive. Mind blown. I'm going to say biggest misstep that they are ever going to do in esports at all. Now, hear me out. I don't understand this. This stuff is not coming on public. You're not going to have spectator on public. If you want to support esports and you want to get shoutcasters doing tournaments, talking about this stuff, having stuff on Twitch like all day long of people doing like even like the smaller tournaments, it's got to start small, right? Like it can't just be like, nobody's just going to jump in and be like, hey, we're going to host this huge tournament. It's $100,000. Like, of course, like, yeah, we'll put tokens in and keep that alive. I don't know why they're putting this barrier to entry. And I could name 10 ways that they could monetize this in other ways that wouldn't cost upkeep to keep this arena open. You could have sold me weather effects. You can sell me like extra, like, cosmetic items inside the arena. You could special tabards just for my arena. Like you could have sold me a gajillion things and Gamebreaker would be like, yes, let's buy all of this stuff. Let's make our arena awesome. Like this is cool. But to actually just keep this arena live and have to pay for it to just stay going every day, I'm totally confused by this decision.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Do we have the numbers on how much it's going to cost yet?
No, I asked, they would not answer.
That's what it's going to come down to.
I don't care if it's anything. Don't you think if it's anything, you're just like, why?
I like okay, so here's the part of the monetization that I do like. I like that you can gift the rental fee, right?
Yes.
Which is something that I think would benefit all across the gem store. If you could buy things and send them to other people, that would be really amazing, like being gifts. So I like the approach of, all right, if you're a guild that's really into structured PvP, the guild master can set the whole thing up, and then all the members of the guild can contribute to upkeeping it. So that system is sound. I kind of agree with you. I'm not sure why they're trying to exactly monetize that, or and you know what, it is beta, so maybe they'll think twice about that, given feedback. I'm not sure. This feature is not fully.
Well, that's why I want to discuss
yet.
it like that. I want to be like completely open to just talk about it, because I really I want to see esports and Guild Wars 2 actually really get somewhere. Like, we all thought before the game launched, like, this was going to be a really big part of it, and PvPers were super excited. They were really serious about this. And now all of a sudden you put a barrier to entry in the way of getting this thing going. And I don't fully understand it, because on the also, right, this isn't going to be on public structured PvP maps, which means leaderboards. No leaderboards for this. Like, does not make sense to me. Like, it doesn't. If you want a robust esports community, I don't understand why they would not at least offer the I get why they might not want to have. I don't know. Go ahead, Liz. What's your opinion on this?
It's kind of up in the air. I guess I understand wanting to have some sort of barrier to entry with not just wanting 8 billion people making custom arenas, because at some point you need to gather players together, and that's not going to happen if every guild has their own custom arena. I do think that maybe they could just make a fee for starting it up, and then maybe let it perpetuate on its own, and not have a fee to play, or to play over time. But
it's what Elizabeth said. It's so that you don't have one custom arena in that list for every single player.
Basically,
that's why they're doing it. Because that would just be a mess.
And I can even do the one-time buy-in sort of thing, maybe. Like, maybe that's, a small amount of gems or something. I don't get the upkeep thing. And I guess, it'll let a lot of probably on the server side, it'll make a lot of those custom arenas fade away and just immediately get pushed off the server, so they don't have to worry about like storage and bandwidth and all that stuff. I get that. I just, I said, it's counterintuitive to me of what ArenaNet have set up for Guild Wars 2. Being a game that's all about cosmetic items and things like that, and not selling things that are pay to win. It seems like they could have monetized this area with more cosmetic items that I would have been willing to pay for. There's something about it doesn't really sit right, and I think it's gonna hurt. I really do think it's gonna hurt a lot of grassroots esports and shoutcasting. I really think it's gonna put a damper on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could. I mean, the good news is it's already, there's people already starting to get involved with both spectator mode and custom arenas. I saw a tournament that's coming up at the end of May that is going to actually be sponsored by the community, and they're looking to eventually have like real cash prizes involved with that. And somebody was also shoutcasting the moment the patch went live, and the ArenaNet devs all went in to support him and stuff. But it was actually pretty decent. It was fun to watch on Twitch, and so that's a good sign that already people are starting to utilize these features. And like you said, Gary, the spectator mode, which I had the chance to check out, it looks pretty damn polished and
so
robust
nice.
at this point. So
yeah, I know, and that's what's kind of killing me. I think people are going to try it out because it's going to be the new hotness, and they're all going to, a lot of people are going to buy the token, and a lot of people are going to have it for a little while. But I think a large percentage of them are just going to sort of fade out and just go away, and not many people are going to really stick to it. It just does. I don't know. I think it needs to be public. So you want to, like, I don't know, we can get to the whole psychology of the whole like esports thing and free to play. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think they're monetizing it in the right place. I think they can monetize it. I just don't think the rental fee and keeping the upkeep like that is the smart way to do this. I just don't. And I only say that because I want the esports thing in Guild Wars 2 to really just blow up. And I think this might be an area where it doesn't blow up as much, just because it's not. It needs to be public. It needs to be public. It needs to be leaderboards. There needs to be like, diamond and bronze and all that kind of stuff, and people to see where they are. And none of that stuff is going to exist with this private sort of server kind of thing. So sure, Gamebreaker can set up the thing and we can have our tournament. It's like, are we going to keep it going forever? I don't know. Anyway, I hope it doesn't. I hope people really take to it. It was the one thing. Everything else, I was like, this is awesome. Finally, we're seeing this. And then they brought up that one sticking point. I was just like, really? Seems odd.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the beta shakes out, because I mean, it's entirely possible that they get through and they realize, maybe this isn't going to, because they gave anyone who got the beta starter kit, essentially got the starter kit, and I think 15 time tokens or 10. So it'd be really interesting to see after the month and then those 10 days to see how many people are still trying to renew it. to see what that interest is and how that's all going to shake out.
Well, the biggest interest there, my guess would be, what do you guys think? It would be a guild letting their guild in, and then everybody going like, hey, I always like to run these with just my guild, and I don't really want to play against like other random people. Like there's not this larger esports thing. It's just me and my guild, and I just want to run PvP with my guild. Because that, I mean, like I said, without even the impact on the leaderboards, to me, the esport, that's the whole point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're trying to push up esports, it's not just about you and your guild, it's about you against the rest of the world.
Well, I mean, like I said, the Guild Wars 2 Guru is renting an arena, and they're going to hold a tournament with their own custom rules in it and invite, certain teams to compete in it. So you can kind of just house your own thing and make it public so people can kind of, go in there and you can publicize these things and get players in. So I think we will see some things like that in the community. But you're right, though, if people are just starting up and wanting to kind of do this kind of thing, are they going to be, it depends on how much the fee is, but are they going to be turned off by the fact that, all right, I actually have to pay to run this community event? So I don't know. Yeah, well,
like I said, I think it'll be a fun thing, and I think you will see some. And I want to just clarify because I think a couple people in the chat room don't understand what I'm saying. They're saying, I saw somebody actually say, this is all good and fine if they're charging for custom tournaments as long as the spectator stuff is in public. That's the whole point. Spectator stuff is not in public, and they don't anticipate it to be like that. They're not going to offer the spectator mode stuff for public structured PvP, as far as I understand.
Well, okay, let's clarify that. You can spectate in custom arenas that have that turned on, and you can spectate right now in any of the hot joined games.
Right.
So custom arena or not. And they have said that in time they will open it up for tournaments. They don't want to do that right now because for cheating reasons. So I'm assuming they don't have the tech right now to put a delay on it.
That seems to be the case.
And they also want to have the option to turn off your ability to see the people's builds, which I would assume top players don't want you to be looking at their build necessarily. So that option is not in. So I think those are the kind of things they're waiting for, and then the spectator mode will be turned on for the tournament play.
Yeah, so you don't have to go into a custom arena to use spectator mode. You just have to go into a custom arena to create your own rule sets or play with someone else's rule sets. But spectator mode is available outside of CA.
Well, that's all good and fine. As long as spectator mode at some point is available outside of custom arena, that you don't really have to like kind of have this controlled environment that you have to pay for, and you can still hold tournaments. I think that would be the key. I think a lot of people will use it, and that also needs to impact the leaderboards. Mm-hmm. This has to be a global thing for esports to work. It can't be just a controlled environment of small things. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess we will wait and see how this shakes out.
Yeah, I just think this is the one of the giant steps we're waiting for in a long chain of giant steps, right? So it's great these two features have come in. They're still in the early stages of it, but yeah, I think we're going to begin to see things, and I already like what I'm seeing in the community in terms of forums and on Twitch and stuff like that. So let's give it some more time and see where it goes.
All right, let's talk about a couple quick class changes. Big nerf to the popular elementalist skill Mistform.
This is sad.
I miss it already. It was,
So Mistform activation now locks your heal, utility, and elite skills for a duration. Ouch.
Of all the things they could have split between PvE and PvP, why not this one? Why not this one? Because I never use my LA in PvP, so if they had just snipped that, it would have been beautiful.
How's this affecting you? This is definitely one of the best elementalist utility skills, right?
Well, absolutely. It was your get out of jail free card. You hit that and you can throw up your heal or your elite or whatever you want, and it was beautiful.
Well, in all honesty, was it needed to be kind of?
Yeah, it was broken. I mean, it was, and I loved that about it. It was my favorite.
I love that. Let me turn completely invulnerable and still have access to half my skills.
What's better yet is that if you put in 2 traits, you would get like 9 seconds of regeneration and a couple other things as soon as you activated it. So you'd go from having like no health to being totally invulnerable for a couple seconds and getting regeneration and being able to cast your heal or utility.
Right.
It was my favorite thing.
So as much as it saddens you that the broken is now fixed, you agree that it's broken and it should have been fixed.
It was pretty necessary, yeah.
Next up, engineers. The cloaking device trait now cloaks for 5 seconds. That's up from 2 seconds with an internal cooldown of 25 seconds. I think this falls in line. ArenaNet promising, they were going to address the unpopular traits. This is them doing that, right? Opening up more options.
Yeah, it's funny. Certain classes just get used to, you look at the patch notes, all right, if it's elementalist change, you're going to get nerfed. And if it's an engineer change, you're going to get buffed.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I don't have an engineer, but I'd imagine that being able to cloak for, what is that, more than double the time it was before, that probably sounds like a pretty good change to me.
Pretty nice.
Healing turret saw buffs and nerfs. Do either of you have an engineer? Well, you don't have an engineer. Do you have an engineer?
She's little, but yes.
She's little?
She's little.
She's little
engineer. Well, actually, she's a giant engineer, but she's like level 12. So she's not really being affected by this stuff yet. I think I'm going to leave her until... Yeah. I think I'm going to leave her until they've made a couple more sets of changes so that, I can be used to what she's more or less going to be like when she grows up, as opposed to being like, what? They took away this, or, oh, they changed that. I just want the smoothest leveling experience for her possible.
You want them to shake out everything first. So let the shakedown happen and then come back.
And I'll get her to 80, yeah.
Scott Hawks, RIP. But on the Guardian front, 3 signets saw passive stat increases of 100%, just like the Elementalist. So Hammer of Wisdom and Shield of the Avenger pets saw health increases. Did we see much use of the Guardian pets before this?
I don't think so.
I feel like they were one of the things that people would get first, so they had a little help on the extra levels, and then swap something in to replace them as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That's been my experience with other people using them.
It's interesting, the signets across all the classes, even warriors, they got buffs. That passive stat increase of 100%. I guess that's part of their analysis that, hey, you know what? No one's using signets, we noticed. So let's change signets.
Yep.
I don't know.
Nice.
I don't think the numbers come, all the number crunchers have done their work yet to see how viable the signets are now, but they definitely saw a big boost to the passive stats.
Nice Mesmer change. Mantra cast times reduced from 3.25 seconds down to 2.75 seconds. So half a second is actually huge. I mean, when these are spells you can charge up and then cast, instantly multiple times. This is actually a really big change for Mesmer, right?
Absolutely. It makes the mantra builds a lot more viable. I hadn't personally seen a lot of them in use, and we'll see how this changes that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the cast time before was really painful. I mean, so hopefully they'll see more play now. Good news for all the thief haters out there. There's a lot
That's another one. The thief change, it must be bad.
Yeah, the mug trait, which applies to the thieves' steal special, can no longer critically hit. So there goes a big chunk of thief burst. A lot of people were complaining about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Needed change.
It was kind of broken.
Right. The stealth reveal thing on PvE got reverted, though, right? Is that correct? Am I just making that up?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
I think that did get reverted because we were talking about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But so they're splitting some stuff out, trying to help the thieves a little bit here.
Finally, warriors. Some big changes on the warrior front. So ignoring the expected signet buffs. So a new adept level, Jaor trait in the defense tree has been added. So anyone with warrior experience able to talk about this one?
That's the one class I play. Yeah, Dogged March is a new. They actually changed it. It used to be Turtle's Defense. It's what it used to do is whenever you got like immobilized or chilled, you would actually get increase to your toughness, but now they're just reducing the duration of those slowing effects and giving you a passive regeneration buff when you come under those effects. So I'm guessing a large part of this, and it's a really good trait to pick up now. I think in PvP, a lot of the feedback on the warriors, they can't keep up with people that are kiting them, and they can just be kited around forever. So this kind of helps that, being able to remove those negative conditions quicker and actually healing you while you do it. So I've seen a lot of positive feedback about that one. So
yep.
Good.
Finally, on the classes front, a lot of the haste skills saw buffs to make up for the 50% nerf in haste effectiveness. We talked about that previously in another show. Notably, the Mesmer's AoE Elite was totally untouched. But I think that's always going to be strong, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of like my God, I can't remember it now. Oh, heroism in World of Warcraft, right? When you pop heroism during the boss fight, it's like everyone get together and you pop that thing, and everybody's, your characters start like shooting like 1,000 times a second and stuff like that. So I it's very sad when that got nerfed, because I usually run with a Mesru in my group, but I can't say that it's it wasn't deserved. Yeah, I miss it.
I want to talk about some exploits and bans that ArenaNet did, but really quick, I want to tell you guys about one of our sponsors. Yes, it is Netflix. We love our sponsors, Netflix. Go over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial. You can download the app, put it on your Roku, your Xbox, your PC, whatever you got. And guess what's coming to Netflix? That's right. New episodes of Arrested Development coming May 26th. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix, I don't think a lot of people really know this yet, that Netflix is actually now creating their own content. Like, shows are just Netflix exclusives. They're funding it. Yeah. They're putting them back in production. House of Cards is one with Kevin Spacey, and now they've purchased Arrested Development. So they've got the past seasons up here. You can catch up on all the past seasons of Arrested Development, and brand new episodes coming May 26th. So if you guys have not checked out Netflix, seriously, I don't know what you're waiting for. Netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. Sign up for a free 30-day trial. Give it a shot. See if you like it. Like, I don't know, like $8 a month after that. I gave up cable. I'm done. It's all about the Netflix. Screw it. Check it out. 30-day free trial. Netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. All right, let's talk about some exploits and unwarranted bans that some people got. So, I don't know if you guys have any more insight on this, but there was an exploit actually going around that you couldn't really do this by accident. It actually required a modified game client. Does anyone know what the exploit actually was or what it did?
This would be one of those times that would be really nice to have that kind of information, but I don't have any of that information.
Clearly, we are too good of people to even read about that sort of filthy behavior.
No, I tried to read about it. I'll admit that.
No, yeah.
Okay.
In all truth, there wasn't a lot of information available.
Yeah, there really wasn't. So, all right. Needless to say, ArenaNet were clear. So they said in this case, they don't want to ban people for accidentally crossing the line, of course. But however, they, as well as they banned the exploiters, ArenaNet also banned an undisclosed number of completely unrelated accounts, obviously in error. Yep. What do we know? Do we have any idea about how many accounts were actually banned in this wave?
Some.
Yeah.
It's very sketchy. There's very little information on this ban.
Yeah. We know that some people modified their client, got banned. Some innocent people got caught in the crossfire. And they had to do all kinds of investigation to kind of sort that out. And they did restore those people's accounts. And it's probably really kind of annoying to have that happen to you, I would imagine. Because not only does it happen to you, if you're one of the people that they don't unban automatically, then you got to go through the whole support ticket process, which is never fun. So not a good situation.
So they've apologized. Go ahead.
They have. From what I understand, they caught it fairly quickly, and so a lot of people didn't know that they were banned because it was reversed fairly rapidly.
Yeah, it was fairly quickly. So they've apologized, obviously. Unfortunate for those, and unfortunate on ArenaNet's account. And don't forget, we also talked about this kind of coming on the heels of all those crazy email scams that were flying around as well. So don't forget about those. Totally unrelated, but just, keep an eye out. Watch those emails because there's a lot of them flying around for actually multiple games right now.
Don't be my dad.
I'm sorry, Richie. You like my picture last week?
That was adorable.
That was
hilarious. That was cute.
Oh man,
they're really good. They're really good at the email scams. Next up, Guild Wars 2 closed beta. Closed beta kicking off May 2nd, which is tomorrow, as we're recording this in China. So there was a huge press event in Beijing, attended by Isaiah Cartwright and Colin Johansson. So I guess for all of you out there who have been wondering where Colin's been, For a good while we were hearing from Colin like every single week. I guess
Yeah.
maybe the bro Hansen's been maybe, over in Beijing getting ready for a little launch.
It's a
Which
little
is
one.
cool. It's super cool.
So
Yeah,
moving out to the Eastern Front.
Should be huge.
It should be huge. It's probably going to be gigantic. One small patch note worth mentioning from last week. The sonic periscopes that were introduced in the living story. You guys see this? You guys know about this? Is this
Yeah.
news? They now knock back. I think a lot of people, I think, wasn't it a knockdown?
Yes.
Now it's a knockback.
It was 10 times more obnoxious before.
Super annoying,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Super annoying.
You get that little target on you. You're like, no,
No.
here it comes. I just want to get over there.
Put up all your stability skills and just like, I'm running
I
through
don't
nothing.
have stability skills. So
On top of that, I guess the knockback doesn't even work on in zones below level 15, I think.
Correct.
Right before a trial weekend.
Gosh, I wonder at the timing.
Definitely
Yeah,
a smart
that was-
catch.
Definitely clever.
yeah, that was an interesting catch on that. It's like, let's change that up right before we bring in a whole bunch of new players who will hate that.
Exactly.
We only want the old players to hate it.
Richie Procopio, follow him on the Twitter at Richie Procopio, and of course go over to his YouTube channel, which is Bog Otter. Go check out Bog Otter.
Yes, please.
Elizabeth Claire, follow her on the Twitter at Elizabeth Claire with an X, going on hiatus for a little while. Good luck. You're moving in all kinds of crazy stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, yes.
Well, don't stress. Moves are always usually very stressful. Don't stress.
Yes, they are.
Follow Elizabeth at Elizabeth Claire, and of course go over to massively.com and check out all her work over there on the massively.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Gary Gannon, follow Gamebreaker TV at Gamebreaker TV, and quick word, for the next month and a half, shows are going to be all over the place for live viewers. No rhyme or reason, days might change, times might change, all kinds of crazy stuff. We may not be adhering to a normal schedule. So for the next month and a half, just be prepared. Follow the Twitter, follow the Facebook. I don't know. I'll send smoke signals, pigeons, whatever. I'll try and let you guys know we're going to be doing shows, but it's going to be a rough 6 weeks as far as show schedules go. But we'll be back on track sometime in June. So we'll see you next week for some more GuildCast. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.